Of this season's Best Bets show, Field 68, all brought possible by our fine sponsors at BetRivers. Matthew Cox here running point, Kai to my right, Jim to my left. Fellas, a lot of games last night. Some may say too many, depending on if you're a college basketball Scrooge or just a fan of the game, no matter who's playing. Kai, I enjoyed all of it. Drowned in most of it, but enjoyed all of it. Some takeaways, some learning, some lessons from you to our loyal listeners.
Well, Matt, it was an awesome day of ball. Overwhelming, yes, tons and tons of games, but man, we saw some good ones. And no, there wasn't the marquee matchup versus marquee matchup, but there's a lot of awesome mid-major games. Asheville, UCF, double overtime. Drew Pember went for 40. Belmont won on a buzzer beater 3. Incredible play call by Casey Alexander to beat Ohio. And Jim, Sam Houston State, a buzzer beater to beat Oklahoma in dramatic fashion. It was an awesome day. Buzzer beaters, close games, upsets. What more do you want?
Colorado State buzzer beater too. Yeah, it was a heck of a day. Loyola had a buzzer beater to go to overtime and survive. Like, there were a lot of wild endings. I want to give a tip of the cap to the 5 newbies in Division I. Queens with the first win as Division I team, knocking off Marshall. They covered Lindenwood, and Texas A&M Commerce were like right on the number.
They competed. Right on there. They battled, baby.
Stonehill, I think, didn't cover by a point. And then Southern Indiana, Kai, against our Tigers, 14 of 17 from 3 in the second half. You heard that right? 14 of 17. Wild fact. Welcome to those schools. Welcome to D1. A pretty solid effort from all of them in considering the circumstances, at least, against the number.
Yep, happy to have you. Hey, we're going to start off with the former Queens head honcho here on the outline. But before we get to the actual action, Mr. McKeon, little library here for the BetRivers customers out there. Make sure you capitalize on these folks. These are plus EV types of things. Looking to wager on college hoops parlays, which we don't usually, but we will when this is such provided for us. 4 legs, guys. A full leg CBB parlay of $25 or more. And BetRivers will give you a free 20% college hoops profit boost. That's once a week. Can't use every day, but once a week. Choose your horses wisely. Available in all sportsbook states. Profit boost will be loaded within 30 minutes of qualifying, so make sure you give yourself some time. Don't just rush to the book and make that last second. Think thoroughly. Vet these picks, guys. And as we will do today, Jim, on this very short slate, I'm going to you first. Milwaukee, Purdue leads us off tonight. Big Zach Edey and the Boilers are going to host Bart Lundy as he ushers in the new era in Milwaukee basketball. The headline reads, biggest upgrade coaching in the country. That's kind of how I would frame it for Milwaukee. What are your thoughts? I mean, they're catching 26.5 though.
Well, Matt, they gave it to Milwaukee School of Engineering last night.
They did.
It is tough traveling on the back-to-back, but I think the minutes load was pretty balanced for Milwaukee yesterday. I'm not really worried about back-to-back, except in terms of preparation, Kai. And you want to have a little more time to prepare for this Purdue offense. It's intricate. There's a lot of off-ball action. You can't really prepare for Edey. That's just not something that anyone has a chance of competing one-on-one. But if you're doubling and you don't know how to rotate to their off-ball screens, I think that could be an issue. Leads to a lot of points for Purdue. But Milwaukee is competent. I wish they had one of their top 2 point guard options. Eden Holt left late in the offseason, and an injury to Ratliff late in the offseason too. That's not ideal for the Panthers, but I still think it's a fairly large number, and they can hang around with Purdue.
Yeah, it's a big number. The drive from Milwaukee to West Lafayette, I don't think it's that bad. And you got to think that
easy
Lundy's staff was focused more on this game than MSOE, who they beat by like 80 yesterday. Bart Lundy, former Queens coach, dominated there. 222 and 61 over his career. 78.4% winning percentage. That's pretty good, Matt. Pretty good. Tell you what Lundy likes to do. He likes to run. He likes to push tempo. And like Jim said, I don't think Milwaukee can stop Purdue at all, especially inside with Edey. That's why I like the points in this one. I like the over in this game. It's my best bet. 144.5 at BetRivers.
Nice.
Over Milwaukee and Purdue. Lots and lots of points. High possessions.
Yeah, the best bets will come from the 8-game slate today because there's nowhere else to take them from.
Nowhere else to go. Unless you guys are capping the D2 or D3 slates. I have not caught into those yet. Kai, I'm with you on the over. You guys mentioned the preparation. I don't think either team really had a big, robust scouting report. I think this is sort of an exhibition for both teams. I don't think Milwaukee has any intention of winning this game. I don't think Purdue has any intention of losing it. I think that plays well for a little bit of a faster tempo. I got burned yesterday on some big spread unders. Mississippi Valley State Baylor to start off the day. What was one that stung me? Just something to keep an eye out for. when you're betting unders or overs really in these big spread games, the game just kind of turns into who the heck knows. So just like a whole variance mosh pit that I don't want to get a part of. If you're betting the under, I would stay away, I guess. Any other final thoughts on that game? Nope, didn't think so, Kai. We're going out east. Providence hosting Rider. Ed Cooley in the squad brings back Jared Bynum, a few other key pieces, but they do lose a lot of the cornerstones from last year's magical run. We all bemoan them for being the luckiest team in the country. Now, is the variance monster lurking this year for the Friars as they host a very, very feisty Rider team, in my opinion?
Yes. Yeah, it's got. Oh, sorry. Were you kicking at me or Jim?
Oh, was it Kai? I meant to go Kai. Sorry, Jim. That's me. It's on me.
Be better at hosting, Matthew. Just kidding. You're a great host. We all love you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Matt. The luckiness that has to regress in some fashion, even if you don't believe Kempom Foley in that stat. The fact is, it's there. You're going to lose a little bit more close games this year, probably Providence. Your team's not quite as good either. Nate Watson's loss is huge. It's highly underrated, in my opinion. Ed Croswell is not his equal, despite what some might say out there. And Jim, Ryder's no pushover this year. 4 starters back, including Dwight Murray. The talent and the experience are there to compete in the upper part of the MAC, MAAC. But spread feels maybe about right to me. A little short. I don't feel confident taking Rider, but Providence, Jim, not immune to losing these early games or keeping them close.
Yeah, and I think that's the big point on the Providence luck factor is that the luck measures every single possession that they play and how much better they are than their adjusted opponent. And early in the year, they were not better than their adjusted opponents. They were 2-4 against the spread as a double-digit favorite last year. And that's an Ed Cooley tradition. He's 9-18 against the spread as a double-digit favorite in his last 27. As a favorite of 7 or more in his career, Matt. In his career, 32-62. He's not good. He's not a good favorite. That's just not
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's not what Ed Cooley is known for. That's per Bet Labs. That is a shocking stat. That's of 7 or more. And I kind of think a team with no returning starters. Bynum was not a starter in the NCAA tournament. He was the 6th man. Against a team with 4 returning starters on Rider's side that can compete inside. They've got size. Tyrell Bladen's back from the ACL tear. They bring in Tyreek Ingram from Wake Forest. So they got bodies to battle inside. Rider's my best bet. Plus 13. I'm with Kai. I'm not in love with the number. I would have liked it a little bit higher, but I just think the matchup is key. The ATS numbers of Cooley being a favorite is very important. And I think they can hang around, be feisty here. That's kind of the tradition with Providence as a home favorite. It is a John Fanta game though, so be careful.
Ooh, love that.
Ooh, so is that an extra point then for Providence? I didn't make that into my handicap.
The dunk, yep. The amp.
Betting Rider's never been a fun experience. I do think this season is a little different because Jim mentioned they actually have some size up front. That was their big bugaboo last year. They're not the most disciplined always, especially defensively. They give up a lot of easy layups and open shots. But on offense, they have an adult at point guard in Mr. Murray, who I think will not be overwhelmed by any pressure that I presume Providence may throw at them this tonight. I think it's going to be more perimeter-oriented Friars attack. I'm with Jim. I like Rider. I also lean over. I think a lot of points in this game. Next on the slate, Duquesne hosting Montana. Another one of these weird sort of non-conference travel spots. We'll get to that one later with Georgia Southern to go into San Jose. But so, Kai, that's my concern off the bat there. If you're looking to back Montana, which if you are, you're catching a stale number now. It's been bet down to 4 from 6 at one point last night. I still like the Grizz, Kai. What do you say at this number?
Numbers right now. It came down too far for my liking. And rest assured, Duquesne's much, much improved than last year. Dan Bro's done a really good job for the most part at that program. Last year, kind of throw it out. Chemistry was awful. The guys gave up on the team. It wasn't a good situation. This year, he has a lot more talent. He has more of a cohesive roster, I would say. No Tevin Brewer today for Duquesne. That's big. But Trey Clark is a top 25 JUCO recruit, former VCU guy who should be very good in the backcourt for Duquesne. Day Grant is there from Miami of Ohio. So there's talent on this roster. In addition to the front court, by the way, Kevin Easley, Trey Williams. That's a pretty good front court. But Jim, Montana's experience too. They have 3 or 4 starters back. Their coach, DeCure. He thinks they upgraded their size, their experience. They can match up with the Duke's front court. So I do lean towards the Grizz, Jim, but it's come down a little bit too far for me.
Yeah. So the narrative for me on both these teams is that they were horrendous down the stretch last year. I mean, Duquesne lost 17 straight to end the year. Montana lost
too.
8 of their last 11. When Mac Anderson got hurt, it was a serious problem for them. But that made it simpler for Montana to rebuild this year. They didn't have to restart fresh. Like 7 of Duquesne's top 10 minutes getters last year are gone. They really turned over the backcourt. I think that could take some time to get figured out, especially with Brewer out, like Kai noted. I think Montana's a little more stable with what they have from last year, carrying that over. I'm not worried as much about the travel because it's not like on the back of another trip.
Yeah, first game of the
They've
year.
had plenty of time to get there. Yeah, like I'm not too worried about that. So I did take Montana at a slightly higher number. I think 4 is okay if you want to. Not a best bet for me, but I made it, I think 3, so a little bit lower, and would still be okay with 4 if you needed to play it.
I took it small at 5 because I'm super sharp. I wouldn't play it at 4. I'd stay away. I just think that Keith Damrod's an underrated coach, and I think this team feels like a much more bullish outlook relative to last year. But yeah, it's also one of those, like I said, the first game of the year, variance, volatility, you don't really know. All right, next. What?
I want you to. This is funny from the chat. Spencer Douglas, Matt, how can you tell when a team doesn't have an intention to win, like Milwaukee today? You said they don't plan on winning today.
they didn't prep for this game. I don't feel like there's any like. If you're on Milwaukee, you're like, yeah, we're gonna beat Purdue today. You're not beating Purdue tonight. Sorry, you're there to get better and learn and have a fun experience. And oh wow, I played against Zach Edey at Mackey. That was awesome. Woo! Let's get ready for Horizon League play.
Arkansas
Next.
Pine Bluff plus 35.5, lost by 1.
Shut me right up.
Anything.
Bozeman. My boy Bozeman. I got to text him, by the way. He's coolest guy I talked to this offseason. Next game, before we go to a quick chat mob break, I believe, are we just going to fly through all these and then get chat mob?
We'll do chat mob before best bets at the end.
Okay. East Carolina, Mercer. For another one of these weird non-con games where you have a low-quality AAC team against, I would say, a solid to above average SoCon team. Jim, I'm going to you. I have a pretty strong opinion in this one. Big story here is ECU is now beginning the Mike Schwartz era. The artist formerly known as Rick Barnes is defensive coordinator at Tennessee. Does he have players, though, Jim? That's the concern.
He doesn't have players with size. That's the problem. He's got a lot of guards that I kind of buy. I think their perimeter defense is going to be really feisty. They've got some guys that can get in front. They can move 94 feet with the opposing ball handlers. They're really vulnerable inside, though, but I don't know if Mercer takes advantage of that. James Glisson is out. They're kind of big, jacked, 240-pound forward. Shannon Grant is out. They're 6'10", 300-pound guy that's a big threat on the block. So even with McCreary coming in from South Florida, I don't know that Mercer has the pieces to really take advantage of ECU's weakness. But Kai, I can't take East Carolina until I know if Winston Tabbs is for sure playing and actually contributing for them. He's supposed to be out there, but we don't know for sure yet. So I'm staying away. That this line has been tug of war between who's going to be favorite like all night into the morning. So it's a stay away from me.
Yeah, too many injuries. Tom Sheen in the chat says Tabbs is playing. So if he's right, this guy's got the inside.
He also hasn't played in like a year and a half. So I don't know that he's going to be the Tabbs
I listened to 2 separate podcasts and they both underscored how intentionally deceptive Schwartz is being about this. I don't think you're getting anything big from Tabbs. And I'm the biggest Tabbs guy there is. You're not getting a big Tabbs game tonight.
No, that's fair enough. And Mercer has Grant and Glisson out. I don't really like that either. Mercer lost a lot of players from last season, but their offense, Matt, is usually very good. Greg Gary, I think, is a very good offensive coach. East Carolina's defense should be their strong point, right? Schwartz, you mentioned, Tennessee's defensive coordinator. But I just don't know what to think of them yet. I don't have any information on them yet. I'm staying away.
Yeah,
I know you're not.
There's no Eve Pons or Josiah Jordan James.
No, there's not.
6'6",
not quite.
6'7" monster multi-position guy. They don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll just spoil it now. Best bet is Mercer -1.5. Back in the Bears and Greg Gary. I know that the Glisson and Grant injuries are concerning-ish, but I think the addition of McCreary up front from South Carolina is a pretty big game changer. I just think he's an athletic force that somewhat negates the loss of those two, not fully, but somewhat. And I'm mostly just selling this ECU project early. I think Schwartz is a good coach. I think he'll get it going eventually, but not at this point with the lack of talent he has. So go Mercer. -1.5, I think is the updated price on BetRivers. Next one here on the outline, South Carolina versus South Carolina State. I think we're thinking bloodbath is coming. Kai, I'm going to you here first. South Carolina State sort of in a weird transition period after they just lost Mr. Madlock, a phenomenal coach last season. So what does this new look team feel like to you? What are the vibes you're getting out of this camp early?
Yeah, South Carolina State shouldn't be good this year. Number one, they have injuries on their team.
Bad
Number
vibes.
Well, yeah, number 2, Eric Martin, their new coach, a Huggins guy who we love, Bob Huggins. He took over late. He took over in like July-ish. Getting a late start on building your program in your first year is a tough place to start. But South Carolina, Jim, is a big fave. I don't think I trust that, especially Lamont Paris coming in. He's also a first-time head coach at this program. He needs to prove that he's not going to slog the game down like he did at Chattanooga quite a bit, grind out games. With the spread this big, I'm just staying away. It would be a lean towards South Carolina, Jim. I do think they probably blow them out. But again, the pace does not excite me.
Yeah, it felt like sometimes Paris would speed it up a little. He never ranked inside the top 260 in tempo, so I can't really back that up with a ton of data. But this is more about how bad I think South Carolina State is going to be.
Yeah.
Like you said, the late hire of Eric Martin set him way behind the 8 ball. Really didn't get a chance to go into the portal too much, and the best guy he got out of there, Travion McCray, is out for the season.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that they're like bottom 2 teams in the country. Maybe not Mississippi Valley State bad, but easy for a team with any size and skill on the perimeter to punk. And while South Carolina isn't like overloaded with monster talents, and Gigi Jackson is still only 17 years old, I think there's enough talent there to run away in that one. I would certainly lean towards South Carolina. I kind of fudged my number to hopefully take them. Still didn't really end up doing it, but I'm wary of how bad South Carolina State could be.
Yeah, I tried to give like 6 points for home to make my number look better for South Carolina. It's like long travel across the state. Yeah, I think the Gamecocks is the right side. Don't feel great about it because just first year coach, a lot of new. How does that look in game 1? Who knows? I didn't see how their exhibitions fared. I don't know if you guys any intel
we razzed a lot on Hayden Brown as a transfer to the SEC, but this isn't an SEC game.
Right.
Yeah, he should dominate
a
yes.
team.
Yes.
That's fine.
Hard agree with that. Kai, speaking of one of the weirdest handicaps that we'll talk about all season, probably.
Yeah.
Hartford Sacred Heart. One team no longer has a heart, really, because they're the heartbeat of their program. John Gallagher has resigned less than 72 hours ago. So this line went from a soft pick 1 opener up to 8. And there's a reason. I think people are sort of just like selling the fire sale that is Hartford basketball as it's on its way to D3. I might get cute and punch the other way. I think 8 points is insane. This team is not that talent depleted. Kai, tell me why I'm an idiot, please.
Well, I'd probably push back and say they are talent depleted for sure. And
They're
this
talent depleted.
This game got pounded overnight. Yes, like you said, up to 8.5. It was 4.5, 5 this morning. It does seem nuts, but unfortunately, the John Gallagher resigning 2 days ago news got everyone's attention on this game. I think you would have seen this a lot lower had that not happened, which is frustrating, but so it goes. Everyone also is pretty aware of the Hartford transition to D3. That's not good for the program. And then also, Jim, Hartford lost all 5 starters from last year. They returned 7 guys, but they're all on the bench. None of them average over 6 points per game. It seems like this team could be in danger of just quitting, kind of sleepwalking through the season, especially without their coach. So I would still lean Sacred Heart, even at 8.5. They're a pretty good squad, got some good transfers, but it has gotten pretty high. I can't really, in good conscience, recommend a full play on it.
Yeah, Sacred Heart did well in the portal. They got 3 different guys from the MAC.
The Pios.
Probably going to start 1 through 3. I think that's pretty solid. Matt, you saying this Hartford team isn't that devoid of talent? I disagree. I think it's no talent.
I think it's like above South Carolina State talent or Mississippi Valley State talent. You don't think so? Okay, you think it's
State, on par. They
Okay.
they couldn't give scholarships to freshmen this year, so they had to get guys that are like D3 worthy.
Right, D3
weren't accepting money. They basically told other good players to leave. That's why, as Kai said, they have no starters back. These guys that are returning barely saw the floor last year, other than Kimbrough. I think this team has disaster potential, mostly because of talent. I do think we kind of learned this as we were doing the almanac. They knew that this coach transition might be coming, so I don't know that the players are going to be like that floored and feel that betrayed.
Yep.
And I think they'll play hard for the assistant that's taking over. I just think it's a talent problem for them. So I would still lean towards Sacred Heart right now. Hartford, another team that I think will sink towards the very bottom of D1 this year.
So Jim sees a little bit of an IUPUI 2022 in Hartford's future. We'll see. I just think the move, which seemed mostly rooted in the coaching thing, was a little bit of an overreaction. Like no players have really defected. It's like out of that news. Yeah, maybe people were expecting that. It's
very high. I'm surprised. I thought it was going to get up to 6. I couldn't believe it got to 8.5. Yeah.
But I'm too scared, so I'm going to probably stay away on that one. We had two more to go. Kai, I'm going to you first for Georgetown, Coppin State. Patty Ewing looking to make a big push this season, cement himself as the future long-term head coach solution for the Georgetown rebuild. We all know that's probably, we'll see how that goes. Juan Dixon, the boys on a little back-to-back for Coppin after they got kind of forked in the second half against Charlotte. Do you think they have some fight tonight?
Gosh, Patrick Ewing, man, what a rope he has, right? 0-20 in the Big East, and you still have your job. That's impressive. That's impressive. That's what being a legend gets you, I guess, in the Big East. This is his last year, unless he does something crazy. Having said that, I'm not really confident in Coppin, Jim, on a back-to-back here. They really did fold against Charlotte. However, they shot really poorly. Sam Sessons, Tark, both had tough nights. Those two are pretty darn talented in the backcourt. That is a crazy good MEAC backcourt. Georgetown, though, should have enough talent, despite Dante Harris being out, to control this game. I just don't feel good about backing Georgetown, especially as a big favorite. Reminder, Jim, they lost to Dartmouth last year in the opener.
Yeah, Patrick Ewing, 9-16 against the spread as a double-digit favorite in his career at Georgetown. He's not good at it. Matt, you kind of made this point, I think, internally to us yesterday about Coppin, where that game didn't mean much to them playing Charlotte, but playing like DC area rival Georgetown, big brother, I think they get hyped for this one. Last year, they played a crazy gauntlet of a non-conference schedule, but they covered 8 straight games from November 13th to December 1st, just like playing every other day, basically, on a crazy road trip. So I actually think they're going to be up for this one. They're going to be a little feistier than they were last night. I lean towards Coppin State here. Matt, you like variance, maybe a little bit on the money line for Coppin State. I know
sprinkle.
Georgetown's a lot more talented than they were last year.
Let me find you a price on that.
I still don't like them as a favorite. They play down to teams.
Yes.
Jim, would you like plus 1,300?
Sure.
Plus 1,200.
0.2 units on plus 1,300.
I'll risk more than that. I went over 3 of my money lines yesterday, so off to a bad start for the Matty money line era. Jim, so I think this game actually is competitive, and I actually like the under for that reason. I think this game kind of slows down as it gets kind of tight late. I don't think we see the same crazy Georgetown, we're down 25, let's just play rec ball and try and close the gap to 10 like they do in the Big East. I think this game actually could get a little tighter, a little bit. Ewing may lose his season opener in a year he has to win, sort of kind of clammy down the stretch, especially with Juan Dixon and that fairly talented group that he has there. Nothing farther on that game. Last one on the outline, Jim, I'll get you for the little West Coast special here. San Jose State hosting Georgia Southern. Very odd matchup. Tim Miles on San Jose State. Brian Berg, head coach of Georgia Southern, making the trip up to the Northwest. What do you see here? Kind of a lot to break down matchup-wise, schematically.
This was like the one I looked at the most and saw, or when I say most, I mean, I made the number like exactly what it was. I'm kind of comfortable with both teams. I like San Jose State in the non-con. Last year, they were pretty solid until they lost Diallo and couldn't really guard anybody anymore. So I feel decent about my number there, and that means I have no value. Kai, it is an odd matchup. You get like a no-middle, almost pack line-esque team going west with Georgia Southern. Can San Jose State shoot enough to open up that kind of a defense? I don't know. But can Georgia Southern score? Like that's kind of an issue for them too. So I would probably lean a little bit towards the under, but I'm not on side or total here.
Yeah, odd game, gross game. My number said to probably take Georgia Southern. I was kind of on the border, and I was like, you know what? Jury's still out on Brian Berg. He's a Chris Beard disciple. He just hasn't fared well yet at that school. He's dealt with injuries, COVID the last couple of years. Maybe this is the year he kind of gets it all together. Tim Miles, Matt, not a coach I really want to fade. You saw what he did with San Jose State last year in the non-con. They looked actually competent, pretty good. But their exhibition result does not inspire confidence. They beat a non-D1 team by 3 points. They struggled in that game. They were down at half. Again, though, I don't trust Georgia Southern, especially on a long road trip, despite what I think is a lot better guard depth this season. It's a stay away from me. I agree with Jim, though. The under would be a lean on the total.
A lean on total, under, agree there. If this game was not the first game of the year, and I knew I had like 1 ounce of evidence about what Georgia Southern will look like this season, I'd probably be on Georgia Southern as well. But just such an unknown, and you add in the pretty stressful travel there. Not something I'm looking to get involved in. Chat mob inquiries, questions, other games that we haven't talked about. Oh, wait, no, there are none because we just talked about all of them.
We have no take on Immaculata, unfortunately. There's a little bit of a groundswell.
Yeah, mine's still marinating. Mine's still marinating. Any other Purdue first half? I'm seeing yes. Sure.
I haven't seen a lot about questions yesterday. Ramon Reyes asking what the heck's going on with peanut butter hanging with TCU. Yeah, I'm a little worried about that.
Bozeman.
I know that Pine Bluff, I think, hit at least 8 of their first 11 threes, maybe 10 of their first 13.
Yeah, they're
and
hot.
TCU made like 3 the entire game. But you should still be able to wear that team down in the paint, kind of destroy them on the glass, eventually fork them in the second half. So
where's
to come down to the
Lampkin?
buzzer. That was a very concerning outcome, even with no Damian Baugh as like their ball pressure guy. Like it just can't be that close against Pine Bluff. That is an issue.
Pat Taylor, Kai, Loyola Chicago, warning signs be ringing the bells. I saw Marquise Kennedy did not play, correct? I think he is fairly important.
Fairleigh Dickinson's pretty decent, I think.
Kennedy was pretty big.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I'm going to chalk that one up to FDU might be a little bit better than I thought. They're not on Loyola's level by any means. I just think it was one of those weird games. So I'm gonna give Loyola another chance.
A lot of new pieces for Loyola. They had that same core for so long, and now they're kind of shuffling.
Florida looked great, Ramon, but Stony Brook was really bad. So TBD.
What was the one team that had the biggest disappointment performance-wise, but went unnoticed because of the time slot or just the?
It's Florida State.
Florida State. Okay, I feel like BYU was like the
BYU was good. That's the unnoticed one because they won.
Yeah,
it was like we joked in our chat, like we saw that BYU.
We saw it. Yeah.
We saw that. We know what you did.
Yeah. Mark Cuban gift takes. Yes, we saw it. All right, let's get a best bets. Nothing else to banter about as I'm trying to fill runtime here. As I mentioned, Mercer, show no mercy. Mercer, Greg Gary, get it done there. I think it's a better team. So went on the road. First game of the year. Kai, yours.
Milwaukee over 144.5 points. Jim.
I am with Ryder plus 13. I think they hang around against Providence, the AMP, the renamed AMP, and Cooley, not a great big favorite. Go back into the show and see the stat I cited on his against the spread numbers when he's a 7-point favorite or more. Lots of other questions coming in about yesterday, guys. Do we want to hit any of those or do we want to sign off?
Hit them real quick. Let's do it. Rapid fire.
Matt, is Memphis back?
Yes, I like Memphis. I've been saying all offseason. Listen to me. They're old. Adults.
Yeah. Every single minute was played by a senior or a 5th-year senior or a 6th-year senior yesterday. Kai, Pepperdine, Tristan Freeman asked us on Twitter, is that a team you're buying long-term or is it just Rice couldn't guard them yesterday?
I'm buying them this year. They're good.
Talent,
the sophomore
insane.
class is really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Jevin Porter, top 100 recruit, younger brother of Michael Porter Jr., Jonte Porter, was awesome in his debut. 16, 7, and 4, 30 minutes, 6'10", big man. Yeah. They're really, really young, so they'll be erratic still. It's like sophomores and freshmen, but I kind of buy it. Creighton by 12. I'll take that one. Yeah. Creighton isn't as unbelievable dynamite as everybody thought they were. Rob Douster on Phil 68 After Dark last night was kind of like, all right, St. Thomas runs a bunch of intricate, weird stuff. They put Kalkbrenner out on the perimeter because they have 5 shooters. I get that. They also should have completely thrashed them at the rim. Like Kalkbrenner should have scored every time down the floor. And they didn't feed him as much as they should have. And they didn't shoot the ball well from 3. That's not an aberration. They were a bad 3-point shooting team last year, too. I don't think that's fully fixed. So I think Creighton will have some ups and downs. Anything else? Andrew Carr, what's up with Temple? I'm sure Harry really wants us to talk Temple. Kai, do you have any take on the Owls?
Well, no, I want Harry's takes on Temple because Harry informed me last year. I need more of Harry's takes.
They were up by like 12 with 4 minutes left and blew that game to Wagner.
Yeah.
So
Wagner's feisty again.
I'm not worried about Temple.
Yeah,
they'll be all
right. Yeah, Matt. Shout out to Duke. They were freaking legit
Duke's
without
good.
Whitehead and Lively against.
It's a deep team.
What should have been a feisty dog. So impressed by the 44 points for Jacksonville. That's a really good.
Mark Mitchell's very good.
Yeah,
Justice Winslow 2.0.
Yep.
John Shire they called Mark Mitchell easy because he's easy to play with, and Shire made it real corny. Like, we just tell him, don't be easy to guard, Mark. Don't be easy to guard.
Shire's awesome. Kind of a goober, but I love Shire.
I laughed. All right, I think that's it, Matthew.
All right, we'll sign it off then.
Tomorrow.
We are off tomorrow. Thank you, Kai. We are back Thursday, I think Friday and Saturday. So pretty heavy dosage of the Weavers as we get into a pretty heavy weekend slate. For those who stopped by today, thank you. Take the day off tomorrow on the hump day, but join us on Thursday, same time as usual, noon Central, 1 Eastern. Until then, good luck.